Let's see if this actually popped up. I actually haven't done one of these on the Little Orbit Twitch channel, which is kind of exciting. See, I actually didn't get chat up for this.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everyone. I think we are live right now. Hope everyone's been doing well today. I'm Secrets, APB Related's lead engineer. Joining us is Matt Scott. Oh, this scene is just... This scene right here on the stream looks... I think this is going to be passable for now. We do have just a lot going on today. Matt is going to be here with us once again. Is everything looking okay? Quality okay on everyone's end here? I think Matt might have... Did the picture die? Hold on. Just trying to make sure. Nope, that works. Okay, I can't minimize that. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Okay, moving this over here. Looks all... Is that a voice changer? No, actually. Also, that's actually Matt. Matt is not dead. He's right here. So, let's get this going. We have a lot of questions to go through today. Also, basically
a little bit of a list here. I know.
He has a little bit of a list. Let's go over Matt first off. Let's get some introduction for those who don't know you. If they don't know you and they're seeing the stream, there's probably something wrong. But just in case, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, for better or for worse, I am the CEO of Little Orbit. We acquired APB about 5 years ago, 2018, and have been sort of the latest set of stewards. It's gone through change of hands a couple times. I'm an engineer by trade. Obviously, I'm the CEO. On top of that, I've played tech artist. I've played a bunch of different roles. I liken being the CEO a little bit to being the janitor. So if anything needs doing, kind of take that on.
Effectively, Matt is multi-rolled person that has honestly has been one of the biggest supports for me in the industry right now. So the fact of the matter is, Matt has been through a lot. This company's been through a lot. Should we go over basically some of the common questions first? How do we want to do this?
Sure. Sorry. I saw Ilk saying I'm cutting off a bit, so let's
see.
We'll try that. If the headset keeps cutting out, I'll switch mics, and
it just seems to be audio quality related. Things look okay on my end, so.
Okay. Great. What do you want to start? I think what we want to do, maybe I'll start with the apology. I wrote a little bit of it in the blog. You know, it's been a tough year, I think, for a number of different reasons, but you guys deserve more updates. It's always, I think, unless you've been on a project that has some visibility, and then you're doing all this work, it's a little bit difficult to describe the process that you go through, where you're often looking for concrete good news. And I am, trust me, out of everybody, I'm very aware of overhyping things or telling people promises that you're worried about keeping, and things like that. I think it's I take it really seriously. And when we write a roadmap and then we miss the roadmap, or we telegraph what we're going to try to do in a year, that is super disappointing for me, probably more so than even the players, because they take it personally. I think this year's been a mess. I allude to it in the blog. I'm not going to go into detail here, but the apology remains the same. I think you guys deserve better. I will try to do better. I think this is a little bit of the effort of peeling the curtain back a little bit. We're going to show you a little bit of what we've been working on. We're going to walk through some of the stages. We're going to answer questions and try to just be as transparent as possible. So we'll open with that. I think the way I'd like to structure today is there are some topics that I want to talk about in terms of matchmaking, which is something we can tee up, talk about why and what we're doing there. Also want to talk about content. I know I got on the forums, and people rightfully have said, updating matchmaking is not going to, you know, they were a little critical, which is fine. I'm happy to take criticism. Um,
Same, actually.
I think, yeah, look, nobody's perfect here, but they were pointing out that just updating matchmaking without having any content is not going to give people a reason to come back. And I 100% agree. I also feel like just updating content without updating matchmaking has the same effect in that maybe you get a little bit of a bump. People are like, oh, look, there's something new in the game. But then they're going to come back. They're going to be frustrated with the level of matches they're getting and just leave again. In my opinion, you have to do both. And that's what I said on the forums. It was a bit of a sassy answer there, I think, from some folks. And again, I don't expect players to put a lot of faith in what we're saying. Um, if you're interested, follow along. If you're not, then that's fine too. I understand it's taken an incredibly long amount of time to get where we are.
I
But
will
why don't
also
why don't
say,
we open with that? Go
I
ahead.
will also say that if the game isn't fun for you, and this goes for any video game really, and you think it might be fun in the future when we have things, fixed up and polished, and it's okay to stop playing if the game's not in the quality that you think it's not right now. If it's not up to your standards as a player, it's okay to take a break. I think sometimes saying that out loud is okay to do for players. Also, we're going to keep working on it regardless of the criticism. We know it needs improvement. We know that content and matchmaking are a big priority here. So we're going to be trying to do the
Let
best we
me
can with our team. Go ahead.
let me leapfrog on that. I think that's a really good point, and I want to make that clear as to everybody on the stream. And I appreciate people coming out and watching, but I think it's really important to stick to the plan. As a CEO, right or wrong, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is just shifting gears all the time and trying to do a billion different things, getting part way, switching gears, doing something else, switching gears, and kind of chasing the complaint of the moment instead of having a long term plan. One of the problems with having a long term plan with APB is there's so much to fix. Everything from what we did with 64-bit to even the back end. Like there are lots of things we want to do at the database level or at the API level, which was done 12 years ago. I think the idea here is we've been slowly, methodically trying to go through and pay what we call technical debt because the project is so old. So I'll say that up front. I think that having a plan, sticking to the plan, I get it. It can be frustrating. You're not getting, any individual player not be getting what they want. Um, it can be frustrating, but trust that we're trying to do the best we can. Let's see. I'm seeing some comments here about volume.
I just moved my mic in closer. Your microphone was cutting in and out a little bit. I think it's better now. It just seems to be
Okay,
the same problem mine has, which is I'm just not close enough to the microphone. I can hear you on my end, and also just looking at
great.
some early comments. Uh, there's a lot of concerns about very minor things like map fixes, and there's also things like are you addressing you know this and this issue? Are you addressing this car? Are you addressing this thing? We're cognitively aware of that, and we're also kind of working through the the list, so to speak. That
And
being said, we can't really divert too much resources away from matchmaking, but it's also something like, for example, while doing matchmaking work, I found it very easy to look at, under ideal circumstances, now that we're having matches actually be handed out properly, we can say, and we'll get into matchmaking probably right after,
right
this
next, that's
introduction.
coming up.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
it's coming up.
Yeah,
Effectively, what we're going to be doing is we found ways, for example, VIP missions right now, as you might know, we'll be firing in like 2v2 or 1v1 or 3v3, and they just don't function appropriately. So these are things that I'm an old player from RTW that is now the game's lead engineer. So I played when everyone here was playing. I remember those times. I remember camping the rooftop in Waterfront. I remember getting stuck up there, knocking over the barrel right at the warehouse. I remember going to Suji Roof and camping that, and then people were having these awesome times up there in a group of four, but for maybe casual players, they're not really they're not really enjoying it. So like a VIP, mission needs to have 4 people. I'll just say that out loud. Uh, uh, so um, so also we'll get into that.
Let's address some comments really quick. There was one here earlier. I apologize. I think it's
Go for it.
FRGT69. Yeah. Um, I want to take this comment specifically. It says that no one cares about matchmaking if you have no players. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. But what is going to get players is going to be content plus matchmaking. Say that over and over and over. I'm going to be a broken record tonight. You can't do one without the other, because what will happen is people have already shown us like that when we do stuff that they like, they'll come back and try it. I love that. Players genuinely amazing. They've stuck with us for a while. And when we throw something new out, like the 64-bit update, boom, we have a ton of people coming back, trialing the game and having fun there. But the systemic issues in the game eventually lead them to take a break again, because you end up having problems. So again, I'm going to say, like, content for content's sake is nice. It's great. We have withheld putting out new guns, putting out other things. We really tried to hold back, because what I want to do is everything all together. So I'm going to rearrange the schedule a little bit. See a lot of people asking about EAC. Let's just dive into that one. That's an easy topic. Let's talk about bans and what we're doing. I know Secrets has been diligently working on that as well, and going back with Epic Games. So let's tee that up. So we implemented Easy Anti-Cheat because, and I will say this, I believe it is the best anti-cheat we've used so far. So having run the game for 5 years, we've used various different solutions, and Easy Anti-Cheat, I think, does the best job. Now, we went down the rabbit hole of implementing some technology that I don't know how well was fleshed out on their side. Right? I think, you know, to that end, why don't we talk about some of what is happening right now, Seekers? I think that's just a good place to kind of say, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we implemented.
Yep.
This is what we're waiting on, and here's the plan.
So here's what we've been seeing. EAC is moderately effective. I think that EAC has been possibly the best implementation so far. That being said, there's big concerns from the player base about, what if I got banned for something that I don't think I should be banned for? They need to have a way to appeal this. Well, we've been working with Epic behind the scenes and saying, hey, Epic, we need this functionality for the players to get unbanned. How do we do this? Because we don't know why the bans are issued. When we're handed bans from Epic, we just know that they were cheating. There's many ways to actually determine they were cheating, and it's not really clear to us what kind of issues are actually given out when they're cheating. So
I want to pause there, and I want to
yeah.
tell everybody on the stream. I want to repeat what Secrets just said. EAC has their own internal reasons for banning a player. That's what they detected. They don't share that information with us. They execute the ban, and then inevitably we get a player contacting us. When players contact us, we get every possible story I've ever heard. Like, you guys are great, creative. You guys write great fiction. I've gotten everything from my son got on my PC and logged into my account while he was running something.
Funny thing about that one
Um,
too, Matt. That is technically
yeah.
account sharing, and we won't be able to help you anyway.
Right. I mean, I feel for all the reasons people give. Right. I feel for them. I
Same.
think the shame is, like, there's an amount of that we can go down the rabbit hole on. I do see, yep, Russians hacked my account. My friend got into my account. My ex got into my account. It's always someone else, right? And sometimes, I'm willing to admit this, we've done the investigation, we dug into it, and we actually determined it was, in fact, someone else. About 5% of the time. That's true. The
If even
95%
five,
of the
yeah,
time,
yeah.
yeah, I'm being generous. I'm just saying, hey, sometimes it's
Five
true.
percent is a little bit
We take
high.
it serious. We take it serious. We do look at that stuff, and we try to resolve it. Like, customer support has a incredibly hard job. However, and I think this is where this is going, we recognize it is a high point of frustration right now with the community, with all these bans. Then they contact us, and we're sort of like, there's not much we can
It's
do,
like
right?
not what we're just shrugging and not wondering. We're kind of wondering what we can do. So
Yeah.
there's actually a system that Epic has us implement. Uh, for a while, we were just sending them to Epic, and Epic said, "Hey, there's a system you need to implement." So we're working on this internally right now, and we're working with them to make sure that this system is actually in place. When this is actually completed, the Gamers First website will have an option for you to go into your account and appeal an EAC ban directly with Epic. Our backend will contact their backend. They'll communicate back and forth, and when your account is unbanned, it will actually be unbanned in our system too, not just on their end. Meaning that there's no actual customer support intervention. This is only for EAC bans, just to be very clear. This is not for
So
I got a chat ban or something. Go ahead, Matt.
right. So I was going to say the idea here, and we implemented this really quickly with Epic. And you're right. I saw this this message that was posted in chat here that the form's not working. It's not working. You're absolutely right. We jumped down the rabbit hole. We feel like maybe Epic wasn't quite ready for it. We've been working out the kinks with them, and so we're nearly there. So bear with us. Um, we're trying to get that up, but the end goal is simple. It's a self-service form that you guys can go to and like ask for someone to look at it and just say, hey, unban me, or I did this, or give your explanation. Like totally great. I think that that's appropriate.
Also, on that note, we will have regular communication with Epic about this. Actually, last night I actually sent up a follow-up email to them. We're kind of going back and forth with them, making sure they keep us in the loop. We keep them in the loop on our end, make sure we're doing it right. From my knowledge, we're doing it right on our end. We just have to wait for them to, one, reply, two, process the appeals. And just to be clear, once they actually process the appeal, unless they later determine there's a false positive and they provide us a list. They have done this on one occasion. Uh, then we'll unban if they actually process the sanction. However, if they process the appeal and it's denied, you're staying banned. There's no that is the finality that you need, and we can't do anything about that
This is
because we have
just
to go for them.
what sure. What I like about it is just it's a direct conduit to Epic to sort of for an appeal. They can go dig into it a little more, and they'll do it either unban you or not. But it sort of you don't have to sit in the queue with Little Orbit's customer support. Like you don't have that detail. Anyway, so I just want to say that we're working on that. There are some other efforts that we're also working on related to bans and that sort of thing. But I think the biggest trouble spot right now is that we implemented this and then we found out that hey they went on the ban spree and a lot of people got banned and there wasn't any recourse for them. Frankly, there wasn't even any recourse if they contacted us. We didn't have a recourse to go back to Epic and say, "Hey, can you investigate that?" So, um, anyway, and I'll just say this: like everybody has proof that they weren't really cheating, or they have their story. And like I said, sometimes at a very very low percentage, that's true. We read that stuff and we go through it, but the vast majority of people were actually cheating. We're breaking the rules. They're doing something they shouldn't. So and that
Cool.
sort of is what it is.
That
Um,
is what it is, but that's
re,
the update you have for Easy and I Cheat right now.
that's what
That's
we
what
have
we're
right.
doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have right now. I think I also wanted to mention so there's some people in here with config edits and things like that. There's a plan. Frankly, we had a whole system in the upgraded version of the game. We were moving to 3.0 that had a lot of ways of locking that down. We haven't yet pulled that aside, but there is a way. There's a way we can do that. It's just something we're still working on, locking down configs, locking down packages so they can't be edited or things can't be removed. I understand that happens. It's against the TOS. We don't want that to happen. It's just something we need. But
Matt, your mic's cutting out just a little bit. As for things like, was this in regards to packages and configs
yeah,
and such?
packages. Yeah.
Yeah, technically, the terms of service say that you shouldn't be, modifying certain things. Obviously, that stance is pretty much the same. However, we're lenient in some ways. Obviously, if you're modifying gravity and the statues in social are basically dipping in on each other because you changed gravity or stuff. That's kind of things we want to prevent. And we have actually seen players make some funny configurations. There was one player that removed the sky, for example, and that's the kind of thing we want to prevent. However, there are certain things like we have added the FPS limiter to the INI file. We've made it so people can disable bullet casings. We've added it so there's no muzzle flash if people want that in the config, and we're going to continue to add those into the game as time goes on. However, development time is pretty much the only limiting factor for all of that right now.
Yeah. All right, so let's park EAC. I'll kind of watch the chat. If some specific question comes up that I think is worth talking about, we'll go back to that topic.
We'll go back from that. Yeah.
I do want to tell everybody watching, we're going to talk about content. I see a lot of people saying new content, new content, new content. And not only are we going to talk about content, we're going to actually show content tonight. I'm going to finish with that. We have some things we're going to show off. I don't want you guys to think we're all talk. So we'll get into that. I'm excited about it. I actually worked really hard with Secrets on some of this stuff, so it's near and dear to my heart. I trust me. We absolutely want to get new content in the game as fast as possible. So we're going to get there.
Did you want to go over the content now, or did you want to go into matchmaking updates first?
I want to do matchmaking first. I think get into that. I think what I'm hoping to do is talk about. So let's do that. Let's just jump right in rather than talking about it. So matchmaking, as it currently stands right now, is a bunch of code sitting in the district server. So for those that don't really understand the architecture, we've got a world server. That's where a bunch of this global stuff happens. You're logging in, you're getting profile stuff there. Once you get into a district, financial, waterfront, that sort of thing, you're on a district. And the way that the game has always been, when you matchmake at the district level. This means, hey, if the district can support 100 people and it's split 50-50 criminals, then you're going to match against the other half of the population. It's important to know that the first part, so on the blog, I split our matchmaking effort into 2 steps. The importance of the first step was to take all that logic sitting at the district level and rewrite it and move it to the world level, right? Because we want to be able to matchmake against any district or any part of the population and potentially even any platform. I'm going to stop trying to move my head here because I think that's probably where I cut out if I bubble much. So let's talk about that. So what Secrets has been working on is a ground up rewrite, not necessarily a ground up logical rewrite, but just rewriting all that logic that's at the district level, moving it to the world level. Did I miss any key points there? That's an oversimplification.
That's a gross oversimplification, but effectively that is the simplification that we need, right?
Right.
The important thing to note here is that because we have the ability to matchmake people on the world server, the process of moving the current same district matchmaking to a world level matchmaking between districts is going to be significantly easier than before. And yes, I accidentally put something on there for images. We're going to get to that once we get to the content. So
okay, you already leaked.
I leaked it. I leaked it on accident. I'm sorry. We'll get to the car though.
Oh, blew it.
I blew it. I know I blew it.
That's right. So we'll get to it. It's a car. There you go. That's
yeah. So we are working on a new car.
Content coming as
oops. Big surprise. Big reveal. We'll get to it though.
I saw Strands of Fate ask a question about the living city. I want to come back to that because that comment has been made multiple times that, hey, these changes to matchmaking are going to destroy the feel of being in a living city with people running around doing matches all the time. So I'll come back to that. I just want to make sure that from the perspective of just kind of understanding step 1 versus step 2, step 1, moving all this crazy logic that we're going to talk about the bugs that some of what Secrets found, right? So like there were actually problems in that logic, moving all that, rewriting it, putting it up in into the world
I
is
actually
step one, and
actually
yeah,
have them
but
in my head right off the bat. Did you want me to go into some of the details on some of those problems now, or?
yeah, no, I think it's what's cool. At least if I were a player, I would want to. Someone has mentioned, right? Like, did we fix matchmaking, right? Did we do anything that, even if you're still matchmaking on a district, like you're not being moved, will there be benefits to players when
Sorry, what was that?
even if we're still matchmaking you on the district, like, will players see benefit to step one, like fixes that we
Oh,
made to actually how
absolutely.
matchmaking?
So, first
Yeah,
off, a lot of the problems that we have with the current matchmaking system are simply because matches are started with between 2 and 4 players currently. When you actually go to matchmake into new matches, it can actually substitute one player of one threat range for another player of another threat range. So you might have a situation where 2 silvers are actually considered 2 low silvers are considered equal to 1 high gold. That right off the bat there is going to result in some lopsided teams and some very unfair matches. The whole notion that a player would be considered, equal to 2 players would be equal to 1 player is just simply logic that has never worked for APB. It has resulted in some fun matches occasionally, but generally, if you're a silver and you're grouped with maybe 2 or 3 bronzes and you're fighting 2 golds, that's not fun for anyone. That's not fun. It might be fun for the 2 golds, but that's not great for the longevity of the game. Secondarily, there is also the abandoned mission command on top of the existing problems. When missions start, it puts 4 random players together through the initial mission creation. If they're in there, doesn't matter their threat, it'll put them together. It will try and match them according to who's currently in the mission versus another team. Occasionally, we found cases where, when trying to start that mission and match players, it has just simply matched them incorrectly. The calculation for determining how many players are currently in the mission when it starts might be off. This is why when sometimes a player leaves the district or abandons a mission or is otherwise not present in the pre-game state before the mission is opposed, you might end up in situations where there's a 1v1 despite the mission requiring 2 and 4 players. So going forward in the new matchmaking system, we're actually going to be disabling the ability to get um sorry, just give me 1 second. We're trying to disable the ability to effectively, get unopposed missions, because unopposed missions are basically the problem as to why matchmaking didn't work before. Sorry, my brain just short circuited there. Go ahead, Matt.
a little intimidating reading chat and talking at the same time and
Yes, it
trying to
is.
make sure that, like, we address everything. So I think the takeaway for me, because we spent a lot of time actually like talking about the logic of how it's a very difficult problem to solve. So let's just start there. I don't think players quite like understand the complexity of how to matchmake people, because you start with like 4v4 and then you have all these permutations that happen where you're throwing away bad matches, and then you're like, great, maybe it needs to be 3v3 because we couldn't put a 4v4 together, or it needs to, you're it's what I would call a bin packing problem, because there's no perfect solution, right? So you design the best algorithm you can, and then you iteratively go back and through this list over and over and over. And so I think we came up with something pretty cool. And let me say this too as well. What we're talking about is not theoretical. We've actually started testing it. I think you guys have seen. Hopefully, you've seen people get invited to OTW, and we're this is not something we're saying, hey, we're going to do this in the future. Hey, we're going to, we're actually testing the step one of this new matchmaking system right
Yep. And is it okay if I talk? Sorry.
now. No, go ahead.
Looking at some concerns about will we still get matches in low population, and some other concerns about seeing too many loading screens. Our whole problem here with APB before is that we would we wouldn't get matches at all that were fair. I'd rather players wait, make an extra 30 seconds to 1 minute for a match that is actually high in quality. versus a match that is thrown together with the first available players. That also being said, the the chances of someone entering a loading screen are going to be smaller since we're still allowing advanced join manually. So yeah, 1 second.
I think what we tried to do was solve a bunch of different play conditions and then let that system try to iterate through that list. I 100% agree. I just think you know, I think players would wait a little longer as opposed to just getting a terrible match. No, like, unfortunately, with APB, always going to be a winner, always going to be a loser, and in that case, it's a feel bad moment when you lose. And so, if you're not given a fair fight, or if it doesn't feel like the fight's fair, it's a bad time. I saw that. So talked about, will these changes eventually make their way to NA and EU? So why don't we talk about step two? If you're ready, Secrets, we can talk about the
Yep.
next step. So right now we're in testing. We've got a little bit of work to do on backup. I think there's a couple other permutations, part of matchmaking, that extend how the match works. We're going to finish that off as fairly quickly, as soon as we can, and then we're hoping to just go live with this. So we'll do testing, we'll fix some more bugs, and we'll just go live with this. So everybody will get those changes, and then we're going to move on to step two.
Yep. So what we're going to quickly do is for step two, we are not only going to match in the current district, but we're also going to match on the world server. Because we're still matching on the world server as it currently stands, it means that we can actually move matches from the world server, or sorry, from the district to the world, and then actually just tell players, hey, you're going to this district. If you're already in that district, that's cool. So what that will end up letting us do is solving the problem of, you know, there's not enough people to matchmake in a district, which right now, in a full populated district of 100 people, you're still only getting 50 different people, provided they're all rated up and waiting for a match, which generally isn't the case. You're trying to get them a match and get them as quickly out of there in a time that doesn't let them wait forever. As time goes on, the matchmaking criteria will expand. After a certain number of passes, it might find other matches more acceptable than other ones, which means that this will also function on the world server level, and that's pretty cool. Like that's something that the game needs. It also is something that, our contacts are, what, like, if you need a certain, hold on, like if the mission that you're trying to do is in a different district, you'll just be moved to that district. And
So I think that's
sorry.
critical. I want to put a fine point on that. Someone just asked it, by the way. Do I have to play in financial to get my if I need to play in financial to get my contact, I'm going to be forced to whatever. No. The cool part is the vision here is you could be in social, you could be in waterfront goofing off with friends or doing something, and then when a mission comes up, you're queued up for the mission that you need for the contact that you're currently pledged to. So you're going to get moved to the proper district to complete that. So on top of that, I also want to speak to this idea of like this empty district, right? This sort of we're killing, this idea that we're killing the living city feel. That's simply not true. Like what's cool about this at this point is we get to decide where to put players, and so you're going to see missions happening in the background of your district. They're just moved people over there. They're going to be doing that match, but we get to kind of scale them to make sure that everybody's getting a good time, everybody's getting good latency, that the server's not overpopulated. So I think my hope is that through some amount of balancing, we're going to end up at hopefully the perfect scenario, right? Where you can go do what you want, and then you can queue up for a mission in a completely different district. We're going to aggregate you with the best possible match based on the entire population, and then you'll get moved to where you need to go.
Yep. And also, if you're still in that district, the benefit of queuing up in a district is you still can do living city activities. You can still see other people. You can still
Yep.
see,
Yep.
the world feeling alive. However, you don't have to wait in social. You don't have to do that loading screen if you end up in the same district anyway. So being in the place where all the matches are going to go on anyway is actually that eliminates the need for a loading screen, Like we've already considered that
It's just going
as
to
a
load you in
possibility.
quicker, but it's not a requirement. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you can certainly just go do the thing. I think it also gives us the option to down the road focus on some activities that you can do in a district without being in a mission, right? So we have certain things you can kind of just goof off and go do. And I think clearly separating people who are in the district on their own outside of a mission and what we do with them, what we restrict them from doing, versus people who are on a mission in that same district doing their thing, and we end up having griefing issues or we have other issues. This is a step towards just understanding where we're putting people, how they're interacting in a mission, um, and keeping that somewhat. So I think it like imagine if there were eight, like right now. Let me tell you actually what happens. We have three different threat levels generally, and we have multiple copies of every district. So the idea of like some player going to the one district that has the highest population because they want matches where they're spamming that thing to get the 100 slot or to get the 80th slot, that goes away. You just simply get on the district you want to hang out with friends, mess around, do your thing, queue up for the mission you want, and then you're going to get moved, and that's all going to get handled for you. So what I want to say today is, and this is a little, we cheekily called this, I think, Showvember. This is actually mostly done. The piece of taking all that logic, rewriting it, moving to the world server is done. We have a couple of polished things. We've started testing this on OTW, so people, you're actually helping us get this right, making feedback, testing it, and then we're going to go to step 2. And step 2 is really exciting because step 2 means you can queue up from anywhere. We can do this whole district movement thing, but then imagine taking that even one step out where all of a sudden you're right, we can let the Citadel players play with our other worlds, right? We can actually pull people between worlds and let them match make on certain districts as well. So that's where I don't we abandoned the idea of world merges simply because like putting all of that into one database, one big gigantic world was not feasible. Like it would grind to a halt. So instead, on all the benefits, we want to have someone's cat. They're running around. Um, we want all the benefits of merging the world, but we're just not going to do
Oh
that.
shit.
We're going to do it in a different way.
Matt, can I change the region real quick?
Sure.
We're having issues with just technical issues with the current region we're hearing you from. The
Okay.
microphone seems a little bit scuffed. We're just gonna change that real quick. Be right back. All right, we're back. All right, let's try this again. Oh, that sounds a lot better now. Weird. That worked.
All right. Technical issues.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I don't know if I can repeat that entire thing.
Oh,
I can try
the TLDR
to.
of it.
I can try to, yeah.
The TLDR of this is, we are trying to get matchmaking out in the quickest way as possible while having as little disruption to the game as possible, while also having the most net benefit impact to the game. We want to make sure that people can join a district, get a match, and not have to spend a lot of time looking for a match while not having match quality be, just terrible. So that's it.
I mean, the game is really about the matches, right? Like, if we're all being honest, APB lives or dies on whether those matches are made well, and that's our effort. Let's go fix how matches are made. So this was in the roadmap earlier this year. It's something that took quite a bit longer. Very complex. A lot of code going on here. Moving that to the world server, big deal. I think we're closing in on it. So I like where testing's at. We've tested this twice now. I think we're going to be planning our third test. I think once we get some of the other permutations done, backup and VIP logic in. I think, or maybe we're working on VIP now, but we're getting pretty close on step 1, and then we want to move to step 2. So did we have quickly have other things about matchmaking we want to talk about? We're at 41 minutes in, so I want to make sure we keep this moving along for folks. I know potentially people are hanging out to see what some of that content is we're talking about.
I'd say let's have maybe what we'll do a question round at the end about matchmaking. But yeah, in general, we're just gonna move on to the new content that we want to do for now. Y'all want to see some new content?
Yeah.
You
So
excited about that?
I almost don't want to overhype this. I mean, let me tee this up. I mean, my mic is cutting out.
It's having
The
problems, yeah.
Visit. All right. Um, all right. So we have not put a new car into the game in quite a while. Do you want to pull up some pictures? Shall we just jump to some pictures? So
Yep.
we did not create this car. This was a car that was mostly finished by Reloaded. They just never put it in. It is not a reskin. Trust me. I spent months doing archaeology on how to get a new car into the game. And so this was named by them. We did make some tweaks. It was going to be an electric vehicle. So we've removed that simply because of audio and some other concerns about trying to put an electrical vehicle in the game. So instead, we're still going to keep the name. It's the Mirage. I know that got leaked, I think, to the community years ago. There was
Many times over,
uh,
yeah.
yeah, that people knew the name, I think, of the car. Um, let me coming up here. Um, do you have it up on the screen yet,
Yep,
or
it's up on the screen basically.
it's up? All right, cool. Um, so internally, we call this the Performance Saloon. We've got a couple others, the Exec Saloon, and some other things. So let's talk about this process. I mean, this was excavation, literally. And you can flip through it. I think
Yep,
I don't know if you
I'm
have
doing that.
some of the other images there,
Sure
but
do.
when we do a car for APB, it's just sheer insanity. What you're going to notice, by the way, is the wheels aren't on the car yet, so it's not quite done. I'd say it's like 98% done. We just are still working on some of the various wheel configurations. There's 3 different sets of wheels, and getting those to kind of hook up properly to the car. But what we ultimately had to do, the tool for putting the car together is so complex. Here's some of the damage morphs. What I did was just applied all the damage to the car, so you could see some of the damage that occurs when you run into things. But this is an intense process. I mean, I kudos to the artists at Reloaded that put this together. Most of the meshes were there. We did do a little bit of work on that. Most of the textures were there. Work on that to finish it up, and then there was no assembly. So we've been deconstructing how to assemble a car, which we can talk about a little bit. Rather than learn the tools, ultimately, we just worked on an import. So the process looked like this. We took an existing car, ran the exporter to capture something we wrote. We wrote an exporter that just captured all the data for that car with all the ways it's built. Then we wrote an importer, and we just kept doing that loop. We just kept exporting and importing the same car over and over and over until it worked. Till we basically were able to reconstruct that car that already existed. We played with the Exec Saloon. I think the in-game name is different. I think I'm not even
Semigourmet.
going to try to pronounce it.
I can
Yeah,
never
yeah.
pronounce that manufacturer. I'm not gonna try. Make it bigger. Okay, hold on. Uh, there you are. There you are. You put up the image over the entire screen. Okay, hold on. I don't know if this will scale. There we are. So you can see some of the high quality images.
It's a little squished, but yeah, you can see
A little
these
bit.
are just screenshots right out of our editor. So you see the back. This is a little Mirage badge on the end there. I think the manufacturer's going to change on this. We're going to try to get this a little bit more connected with the APB better. Um, Very squished, like a BW there.
Yeah, I'm
There
trying
we
to
go.
get it unsquished a little bit.
Yeah, you guys get the idea. Look. The deal is we're going to try to get this piece of content. We're also going to get the contacts, working on populating those as quickly as possible. So we've talked before about the contacts. We have 2 contacts in the can, one enforcer, one criminal. we're still going back to itemize those to put things on um, those contacts. But I would say that is our sort of master plan, is to get step one of matchmaking done, get the car done, and see if we can get those contacts up and running. And like I said, forums, like getting both content and functionality um, at the same time, I think is actually what will drive people to try us out again and potentially stick around.
Yep. So on that note, we do have all of these items still in the roadmap. So can we get the roadmap link posted? Just so people can see the 2023 previous roadmap. Obviously, this time around, Matt isn't going to be doing one, so right?
Yeah, this is the roadmap that I did in March, I think, of this year. Anyway, I was a little late getting it done this year. I would be pretty happy. But I've seen clothes come up from Gino and a couple other people. I believe we have a couple pieces of clothes that have not been released that we want to put into the progression. It may be stuff that we just sell. I'm going to go through that with the players or with the team here. But yeah, so some new clothes. I think we have a couple variations of cars we've not released that we're also going to try to sprinkle into the progression, and a couple other things. So I think um, there's definitely a plan. Like you guys have been waiting a long time to to get this, so we want to get it in the game as fast as we can. It needs to be tested, but I think the getting this up and running in game is not terribly far. I think we got to get the wheels on it, and then we're almost done. There's some projection stuff I'm still working on, but the reason we showed the red one, by the way, the editor's default black, threw a red one in there just because the car has already been set up so that you can project and customize and all that stuff. So wanted something that obviously works just like all the other cars. The complexity level there is insane. Like these are crazy um, assets here. We are, by the way, for strands, we are going to go through the questions. We just wanted to kind of cover some of the basics here to get those out of the way. Mainly, it was easy anti-cheat, the matchmaking, and then the content that we talked about. So it's not just it's not just a fantasy or us just talk. There has been a significant amount of put into that. Do we want to go over some questions?
I think we should. I'll actually grab them and I'll present them to you, Matt. We can also
Great.
decline to answer some of these or just kind of defer to me if as needed. Let's see.
Sure, I can. I mean, I don't mind just going down the list. I know community management team spent time. By the way, thank you. I'll say it started off with thanks for everyone for contributing, putting stuff on the forums. I know again, it's easy to kind of blow this off and say, oh, all right, this is just another, another stream or a bunch of hot air. But I feel like you guys put some very good questions up here. Do you want to talk about the abandoned mission? That was the first one
Yep,
that
this
got
is
put on my
from
list here as
who?
far as
That's actually their name, by the way, in quotation marks.
who.
WHO. That's their name. That's actually their name. So, as far as they understand, they won't have an ability to abandon missions they wouldn't like to play anymore. That is going to be correct for the time being because we won't have any abandoned mission command. In fact, what we're moving away from is basically being able to abandon missions. We'd rather improve the missions that are, just not liked by the community or rework or tweak them in some way. Obviously, this is part of a quality of life, past we haven't really planned or scheduled yet. And it's more of a distant future thing. Let's get matchmaking in. Let's see if the matches still feel, terrible without abandoned mission, and then we go back through there and just say, hey, this mission with, maybe a dump truck VIP dump truck hold mission might not be as fun as a different type. Depends on the player, depends on what they want to see, but generally, yes, you will not have the ability to abandon missions. But we want to try and make it so people won't want to abandon missions. That's a big problem.
I think abandoned mission is fighting the symptom, and we'd rather fix the problem, right?
Yep.
So reason, uh, yeah. Another thing, by the way, this is asked a couple different times while we're talking. When is step one launching? So I just want to give this is as transparent as I can get. Step one is actually on OTW now. We've tested it twice. We're fixing a couple bugs, and we have, I think, one or two matchmaking permutations we have left, and then that's going to go back out to OTW, and it'll be patched. We're going to launch it. I don't think we're that far out. I'm not going to put a time on it. I don't know how long it'll take to dial it in, but the important part is to get it right. It's on test now, and then we'll get it out to you guys. And then after that, I saw the other follow-up question, right? When can North America play against EU? Step one is just in the district. Step two is just on the world, but anybody, so you can move district to district. Step three would be to go cross. That would be North America versus EU. We're getting there. We're slowly kind of opening that up so that we can do that. And sooner than later, I don't want it to take forever, but some of this is code that we're having.
Matt, your mic's cutting out again, just to let you know. I don't know if it's just a distance thing. Just let you know.
Right, change live on the screen.
Nope.
We'll have to put up with the mic. I promise to do better next time.
That's okay. That's okay.
We're
getting the answers.
Out of streaming lately. Yeah.
So, here's a question from Crow. Any upcoming quality of life changes anytime soon?
I think we talked about doing some texture changes, just some stuff visually, right?
Yep, I believe we did talk about that.
Talk about that?
Yeah. Effectively, a lot of the maps from the 130 upgrade have a lot of problems with their shadows. We noticed that, and I know the issue, it's just more of a, hey, we should go get this done, we should patch this out, we should get this, fixed sort of thing. Beyond that, there's, smaller items, not just related to map textures, there's not related, obviously, things that are going to make people want to stay in the game always take a priority. However, if someone sees a splotch of shadows in a place that shouldn't be, that also feels terrible for the players that are coming in for the first time. They're going to look at this beautiful city and, oh, what's that on the ground? It's just it's a graphical glitch. There are going to be times when we fix quality of life things like that. Weapon balance, we're going to be looking. I know people have been mentioning stuff about the Bishada, for example, and the Cisco, and just their usability in general. We're going to take a look at that. People have said, oh, well, this should be very easy to take a look at. So in APB, nothing is ever easy, but we do have the ability to look into that, and that is something I'd like to look into. The Bishada basically pops up on small things, small locations, and we need to make sure that it doesn't do that. You can basically tip the thing, and it'll go everywhere. So
yeah. So I think with the new car, and I just adjusted my audio settings.
Oh my god, that actually feels way better. There you go.
Yeah. So someone on the stream mentioned that I was probably on the wrong mic, and that's actually accurate.
Wow.
So we fixed that. Apologies that we did that 55 minutes into the stream. We'll do better. So I know, shame. So yeah, there are. I think you put it correctly. There are some quality of life things we're going to do. Just some things we want to fix graphically. And then some other things related to, I think we've got some map issues we want to fix that came up in the very last set of tests that we definitely want to fix those.
Yep. All right, we're moving on to the next question.
Next question
from Super Shafi. Would it be possible to get rare skins, for example, the Butcher, Joker, or other means of new events or the sales of the Joker ticket store? You want me to take this one, Matt?
I was distracted by the ASMR comments in the chat here, so I'm gonna have you read that one again.
All right. Well, I mean, at this point, should you just read it?
Sure. Was it which one were you on?
It was from Super Shafi. It's number one.
The first one. Okay. So would it be possible to get rare skins, for example, the Butcher, Joker, or others by means of new events or sales in the Joker ticket store? We haven't necessarily talked about this, but I definitely think we're open to trying to make the game as friendly as possible for those kinds of things, right? I know there's a backlog of stuff. Do you want to? There's maybe one thing we do want to talk about here.
Um, I'd
Y-
like to
y-
keep things that are unique. Unique. We're not selling
Yeah,
the Willow or any of the other sniper rifles or stuff like that. If people have them or they were given out in events, I want to kind of keep them
yeah,
unique to those events. That was brought up by players. It's great to actually honor the previous sanctity of those type of items. So there you go.
great. That's a good answer. You might want to turn me down now. I think I
Oh
might
yeah,
be
you're you
picking
are
up a
you
little
are
bit over.
loud, and as much as
Yeah,
we love Matt ASMR, yeah, I got you. Don't worry about that.
there we go. Um, let's see. I'm gonna
Uh,
scan through the new contacts. There's another one from Super Chaffee. Just kind of skimming down here. Will the new contacts include new rewards? Yes, they will.
they will. Different
Yeah.
rewards. We did hint at some of them in the roadmap. We still have to actually
Yep.
finalize. Still needs a discussion, but we're gonna get to that when we get to the new contacts.
Yeah. I'll take the first one from Reactum. The first one says, I know we'll probably take. See, I know it will probably be
Oh,
something in the far future.
sorry. Go
Is
ahead.
that?
So you were
Yeah.
there was a Discord menu. Now you're too quiet, so I gotta turn you back up. Oops.
All right.
There we go. And now
All
people
right.
can see your face again. There you go.
All right. So I know it will probably be something in the far future, but will we see any of the 3.5 visual changes back ported to life, like the palm trees in social, the LED improves we saw being made? Will we see the real ads tested in the 3.5 beta brought back to life? So I think that sort of opens the topic of Anzu. That's it's all still on the roadmap. I mean, I think again, my order of priorities is anything that helps the game play better, regardless of look and feel, regardless of content. Like it's just gameplay, fix gameplay, get that where we want it. Then after that, Matt, Mike muted. Um,
No, you're going through still. Everyone can hear you.
yeah, okay. Um, After that, some visual stuff. We all love the visual stuff. And then, and then anything related, honestly, anything related to monetization where we can make that more accessible, more fair. We've done a lot. I would say in the first 2 or 3 years of the game, we really undid a bunch of that. We did a lot of work there, so we've kind of left that alone pretty much. But um, I'd, I'd, I'd love to add. I know that we've looked at the first time user experience, the Patui, doing something there. So that's on the distant roadmap.
All right,
Let's go back here.
go ahead.
All right, that's a big broad one here. I don't know if I want to get this is a whole can of worms, but I'll ask anyway. So what are you aiming for? How do you see the future of the game? Is APB a game you love and keep running as a hobby, or do you want to turn the game into a successful commercial project that can support your company? I mean, I think I don't. It's a great, complicated question. I both love the game. I love what the game wants to be. Um, it's not a hobby. I mean, I think we keep it online out of the sheer love for it. It clearly doesn't earn the kind of money that it used to, but I also think that it can be fixed. That it's like a really great game at its core. We just need to bring it into 2023. I think there's just so much stuff that was done using dated techniques, and that's not a slam on them. It's just an old game. It's 14 years old now, so I think trying to drag some of these pieces into modern day is really the effort, and I think the success will come out of that. I don't think you can make a game successful. I think you can try to make a game everything you want it to be, and then it will either become a success or it won't.
I also think that this is my opinion, but you never fail until you stop trying. So we're gonna keep trying, right?
I yes, definitely. I am infamous for saying success or failure is where you measure it, right? So
Yep.
if you stop, then that's where you're going to measure success or failure.
Yep.
Um, let's skim down here. I know we had a question here from Tsuzuki T, which was, will there be an update for APB's threat system? I think that's generally what the matchmaking rewrite is. I mean, I think threat under the hood is largely going to stay the same. We're not rewriting some of the core, the actual pieces that evaluate the skill of a player, but everything on top of that has had a nice level of polish put on top of it.
May I also add on to that?
Yeah,
I also think that every time I've looked into threat or to see if something shouldn't be working the way it is, there were normally underlying systems surrounding it that would have muddled the effect of the threat calculation as opposed to the threat calculation itself. I also think that I believe you and I, Matt, we talked about changing and hiding threat once the game actually works as it should, correct?
yeah, yeah. I just don't think I don't know if it's information players need. I mean, I know from a personal standpoint, everybody likes to see that they're gold. They like to see the progression. We'll come up with a way to do that. I mean, I think we want to give some level of information that, hey, you're getting better. That's great. I think people lose the purpose of the game by focusing too much on their threat level. Like, I got to get this. Like, no, just you're going to get matches. You're going to have a good time. Go, go have fun. That's where I'd like to see people do it.
Yep, I would agree. Anything else?
There's lots of good stuff, by the way, in chat. There's not time for me to go through it all. I mean, I definitely think we've talked about loading screens and stuff like that. It's ad nauseum. We've talked about that at some point or another. I think this one's interesting. I think free roam event districts going to be a thing. I think hand in hand with the way we are changing matchmaking, we can start to focus on just giving things to players to do that they can sort of have fun with. And I'm all about that. I think just part of the fun of the game is doing weird, wacky stuff with your friends, right? That's I think everybody has a favorite moment about getting their car launched up over, trying to get it up over a building or doing some weird, wacky stuff. And I think the more that we allow that, because you're not in a mission or you're screwing around with friends or that sort of thing, then the better. That's great. We've got a comment here. It's getting a little late. Any idea when the new matchmaking will be released? We talked about that earlier. New matchmaking is currently on OTW, so it is testable. One thing that would really help us out is if more players joined those tests. So I'm gonna unabashedly ask for your support and say, hey, when we make the announcement, hey, come join OTW, because that's what's going to speed the process up. That's where we're really testing, and we need to hit that system pretty hard.
Cool.
Let's give a couple more questions. Go ahead.
Let me see do you see the number one from Darren?
I do. Let's see. Is the matchmaking update a do or die thing? I mean that in the sense, are you going to try your hardest and keep working on it until it works, even if it turns out to be harming the game, or give it a decent try if it fails as a concept because of how it changes core design of the game? Not talking about technical execution. I think it's a great question. I think in the past, we have been guilty of trying things, maybe sticking with them a little too long, shotguns, and then reverting them. I think we could have easily or should have abandoned that. I think matchmaking is slightly different in that I think matchmaking isn't so much something where we're taking a ton of risk. We're rewriting things, we're moving it around, we're fixing bugs, but it's still going to be effectively the same matchmaking system. I just think it's critical to give players the best possible match, and you're never ever going to get the best possible match trying to connect someone with 50 other players on some server at peak. That's the best you're ever going to do. So I think getting out beyond that cap is just what will help. The game is about matches. Fixing matchmaking makes the game better.
I
That's not
completely
the only
agree.
solution. Before we get a ton of spam saying, yeah, hey, you need other things. I'm well aware of the other things we need, and we're not ignoring that. I just feel like the thing that plagues the game the worst, some of the things, is matchmaking. It's the heart of the game. There's griefing. There's other things we need to address. Absolutely, I'm not going to dispute that. I just think we're trying to go after the core of the game and work our way up.
Cool. I'm actually going through the questions right now. See if we can get another one. Um,
Yeah.
Also from the same person, number 5.
Yep. Uh, all right. It says, when can we expect more active engagement from staff and more communication? How frequent is the communication going to be? All right, great. I'll take that one. I mean, I think that's probably on me. I lead by example. I probably should go back to a more consistent thread. We did this a lot for the engine upgrade for the 64-bit in various versions of that, where I would just post every week or every other week. I think for matchmaking, could have, would have, should have. Right. I probably could have done the same thing. Started a thread, gone through a lot of that stuff. I think I'm always surprised when players want to know how the sausage is made. Some of the stuff is, I feel like it's going to be boring or um, uh, not interesting. But more often than not, I get feedback that players do want to see this stuff. So it's something I'm going to work on. I think you guys are owed the information. We just need to do better. Stuff like this takes time, unfortunately. So it just, on the counter side, we're taking a break from a work day. We put some effort into grabbing some screenshots, that sort of thing. I think we intentionally tried to be a little less formal with this particular stream to set the bar at a level where we can potentially do more of these. And it's not a week's worth of prep where we had a bunch of stuff and graphics and a bunch of stuff. So
A little bit more raw than we've had before.
sure, you're gonna get to see how the sausage is made.
Yep.
Um, Not gonna do beard grooming tips.
No, you're
Uh,
not doing that one? Okay. We'll go past that one.
there aren't any. The truth is, I thank you for the beard compliments. I just don't have any tips to give. I do nothing with it. Someone asked about conditioner. I literally do nothing with it. I
You
have
get a shower. I mean, that's about it, right?
that's
So,
it. I have I do have someone that trims it. I do a
nice.
good job shaping it, that sort of thing. I'm in it. So I've seen this come up a couple times. I'm gonna jump in on this one. Someone's asked about Fallen Earth. I'm scheduling this similar style of just AMA for every one of our games. So if you're not an APB fan but you play Fallen Earth, you play or you're interested in STFU or you're interested in Unsung, we're going to do the same thing. You guys, all of our players are owed more information about every one of our titles. So those are coming. Again, we called it, sort of cheekily called it Showvember. Some of it's going to go in December, but I want to do a blog and an AMA uh, for every one of the games.
Sounds awesome. Looking forward to seeing those too.
Yeah. I think STFU is next in queue. So this one had a lot of information to pack into it. That one's going to have even more. We'll probably have to break it up multiple times because it's fairly far along at this point. So be a lot there.
Yep. Agreed. We have a couple last
Uh,
few questions here. Let's see.
yeah, go for it. Let's see.
We have unreleased content like 4-slot vehicles or such. When
Yep.
will we get 4-slot versions of the Charge Sentinel and Dolton and Montaigne?
Yeah. So that kind of comes back into the context discussion, I think, right? So we're looking at going through finding all the little things that have not been put into the progression, right? Or and we're trying to slot those in. That is, I want to be clear. It's something we're moving into now. So we're going to wrap the car up. We're wrapping up step one of matchmaking. We're going to move into contacts, itemize those contacts, and then get all that out to you guys as soon as possible. Then we'll cycle back around and do step two and more stuff.
Sounds awesome. Yeah, I actually am very much so looking forward to going through that. As a longtime player, also a developer now, I was looking forward to those 4 slots myself. I am also a completionist like this person is. I think it's going to be awesome to actually just, there was a natural cadence to contacts that we still have to follow. There are still things that haven't been released on purpose because they were going to be in future contacts. I know people have seen
Mm,
that chart of threat levels going well beyond 255, and that is something we can do. And if we keep
yeah.
regularly getting content out, we should be seeing more contacts and therefore more or sorry, not threat levels. I meant rating. So you're going to keep
Mhm.
getting, rating repeatedly, and that number is going to keep going up as contacts go up and stuff gets released. So there is a backlog of things. There's some unreleased things. We'll look into that. Nothing we can say concrete for now as well. But
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Let's see. So there's some comments here in the chat. I'm flipping back and forth. We just for those just joining or those that want to know how we pulled the questions, we opened a forum thread and said, hey, we were going to be doing this AMA if you guys had questions, and then our mods went up, collected all those questions, and put them into a big list of stuff for us to kind of review here. So I think we made it decent. We've been hopping around. Kind of cherry picking some of the questions here, and then occasionally I'll look at chat if I see something asked kind of over and over. I'm cherry picking out of the chat here, so there's no script. We kind of had some topics we wanted to discuss. One topic that has come up over and over and over. I'm going to try to figure out how to address this without saying something I shouldn't. Is console. So I guess I'm gonna say it's complicated. We have made some progress. I had hoped to have an announcement, but I can't. That's as best as I could do. The console players have suffered tremendously. I've gone on record saying that before. There's so much we would like to do there and can't based on the current relationship. It's a mess. It's very there's a lot there to unpack. So, but I want to acknowledge that people put it both on the forum. They put it here in chat. They're asking about console. It is something that I look forward to giving an update, maybe as soon as next week. We're right down to the final piece of it, and I just didn't feel comfortable going into it. It's not something I can talk about right now. I'm not ignoring it. I'm not dodging it. There's some complicated issues there. Let me go through the list. A little
Trying
bit
to see if
about
we missed anything. I'm looking too.
Yeah. Are we working on a new gun?
A new gun? I mean, technically, the Black Friday sale is coming up, and well, it's not a new gun; it's a new type of gun, right?
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
want to talk about that right now, or should we keep it a surprise for Black Friday?
Yeah.
Though I think people have kind of.
I mean, no. Look. We're there. I think Black Friday's around the corner. Let me put some context on it. There's always conflict for me of running a sale or running stuff because I sit between two different places here, right? We're actively working on trying to fix the game, actively working on trying to make improvements and do things right. So that's one hand. We don't have endless funding, and I said this in the blog. For those that don't know how publishing works or development works, it's not a case where we just have a ton of money in the bank and we're just doing what we want. We self-fund, and we do that through a number of different things. We do it through banks, and we do it through partners, investors. We do it through projects. So I'm always a little reluctant to run sales because I generally don't want the players feeling like we're trying to grift them or take advantage. I see that all the time on the forums. I would say if my goal was to grift players, I'm doing a really awful job. I think there are much better ways for us to throw content around and charge for it, and try to take a bunch of money from you guys. Rest assured, the money you spend goes into the game. We're absolutely paying for servers, and we're paying for secrets time. We have another engineer that sits on the project, and so we're trying to grow that. I mean, we're trying to solve problems in the game and grow it. We do have a sale coming up. The sales, I think, are an opportunity to get stuff. We discount it usually. We put bundles together, and so why don't you talk about what's in this sales secrets?
Yep, sure. So this is the first time we're going to be discounting the Key to the World pack. This is something we've never discounted before. Honestly, I felt it. I think we've talked about this internally. Some of us felt that it was undervalued in some ways, so that it kind of made sense to actually just put this on sale. It's a bunch of skins, it's a bunch of guns. It's very important stuff for getting started in the game, but veteran players probably only want it for a few select reasons. That being said, it's going on sale. Second, we're doing another sale on Joker tickets again because, well, that's awesome. You just pick what you want. that's like build your own sale. It's really cool stuff. And then the third one, Matt, can I put the banner up on
Yeah,
the
go
stream?
for it.
All right, I actually have
Sure.
to find out where we posted that one moment. But I'm just gonna say it real quick. Let me look. I think I put it. Where did this end up? I found it. So this is okay. I got it. Sorry, I got it.
Right.
And I'm just quickly putting this back up on stream. There we go. Let's see this. It is. Let me make sure this is not stretched anymore. No stretchy. It's an Oka Nano Butcher. This is not a legendary, just to be clear. This is going to be an unsilenced Oka Nano. And the Oka Nano Butcher will be priced reasonably as opposed to, you know, most of our other limited release guns. We took the feedback from the Colby CSG MK2, and we're like, yeah, players said, yeah, that's a little bit overpriced, so we dialed that back for this sale. We're hoping that obviously it's a high ticket item. It's something that players don't normally have access to. So it's also got the butcher skin. So we're kind of got the double whammy there. So that's going to be available for a limited time in the Black Friday sale. And
Just
then we'll
something cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
just something cool. We'll be bringing stuff like this back periodically. We'd like to have the ability to have these limited time items.
Yeah. I did see a couple people, and I'll address this, right? So a couple people said, asked about Joker weapons versus Armus weapons. I think the intention, I should just say, the intention is, we want to put almost everything into the Joker store. We have our own criteria of why we don't do that for quite everything. But one of the big efforts that Little Orbit made was to try to embrace APB as a truly free to play game, which in free to play fashion, you earn Joker tickets. You should be able to spend them to get the same stuff that you can with real cash, right? Um, the downside is it takes time. That's the only reason why we haven't done more of it is we have to go through and we have to go through the data, and there's just this whole process of adding things to the Joker store, and it is somewhat problematic when we get it wrong. We've had cases where people were able to get things for free, and anyway, so the QA on that is a bit tough. So I just want to say, we're still committed to adding new things to the Joker store. It was something that I championed, which I just felt we needed overall, was an ability to just earn tickets and then buy things directly in game without having to go to the website or spend real cash. So we'll keep working that. It's just not where our focus has been. It's not because we don't want to do it or we don't want to give you free things. It's just time. Um, I'll answer a couple of these. One question in chat here was, have we thought about rebranding? Um, I don't think so. I mean, I think just APB is the game it is. I don't know what I would call it, and frankly, I don't know that renaming the game would bring new players in. I mean, it's an interesting idea to explore, but it's not something we've thought about right now. And then there was another one I know that Strands has highlighted. He's very clever about getting my attention there with the reverse text. We're not at this point, like the slider ranges are all baked in there. I think there is a lot of difficulty expanding the slider ranges because then things distort and start to look really, really bad. So I don't think we can, as far as I understand, I don't know if we can get outside of where the current slider ranges are for character customization. That's sort of problematic. Did we? Let's see. There were more questions there. I'm unfortunately not gonna get that. Are we gonna get to an account bound Koi Wolf?
That's
Koi
up
Wolf?
to you.
Yeah, I think that's on the roadmap. Um,
I mean, I could have that
we'll
done very quickly, but we'd have to
yeah,
talk
it's
about
it's
it.
not something it's come up a couple times, so I'm not opposed to it. We'll get there. And then again, we addressed this earlier in the stream, but there are multiple cars that we have not done, both on 4 slot versions on Joker Store or in the progression. We're still missing some of these, so we're still getting there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off stream too. There are a lot of, we're trying to make this cadence of releases so that we can, APB has a lot of items that are just in one's place but not the other, and that just doesn't seem fair to new players if they're looking
Right.
at Armis and they're not able to get that item. That just feels bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're aware of that. So yeah. Let's see.
All
We did
right.
miss a few
I think
things.
we're winding down here. Let me. I know we've gone for about an hour and 20. Let's just see. Is there anybody in the everybody? Put so many great questions up on the forum. I want to see if we can maybe answer one or two more of those. Um, so there are a couple here on console. I'm not able to do anything with that.
There were some in the chat, by the way, Matt. You can kind of take a look at that.
Oh, let me jump further down here.
Yes.
Hold on. Is it possible? Okay, new map. Let's talk about the new map, and that comes up a lot. Look, I like the idea of a new map. New maps are that's you're designing a game when you make the maps, right? The maps have to have these action areas where people can, get in and out of that area multiple different ways at multiple different heights. My feeling about maps, and you're right that we have excavated pieces of maps. I don't want to overstate that or overhype that, but we did find some pieces of original map work and things like that. I feel like maps split the player base. So just like any shooter, right? When people are choosing different places to go and to fight, just like right now with Waterfront and Financial, people have their favorite. They either don't like to play in Waterfront for various reasons, and so like introducing a map, you just exponentially make that problem worse. So splitting the player base is something we have to take be very careful with that. So solving matchmaking, I think, helps where people can now queue up for that without having to go sit in an empty district and wait for people to join them. I think that's a way of opening the door to try to do that. So that's general. I've said that before. That's not new information. I think, or we haven't talked about Chris. I'm not. I don't want to talk about Christmas live on stream here, but I know we're working through what we're going to do for the Christmas event. I know people always want Beacon back or things like that. So we'll talk about what that's. We'll save that for another stream or another update.
Yep. Also, there was a couple other things. The one at the very bottom was actually brought up quite a lot.
Oh, all right. Oh, yeah, premium. Yeah, like I feel like, and I've said this, I'll go back to some of my answers in the past. I feel like keeping premium free is the right thing to do right now. We're in development, we're making changes. I just feel like charging people for premium in its current state is just not a great thing. I think generally people like having more creative design. They like the benefits of premium. And so I'm not inclined. We started doing it back when COVID started just because we realized a lot of people were home. So we just decided to give that away and we've just stuck with it. The long term plan is to redesign what premium is because I just think like what premium is now is something everybody should have. And what premium should be is something different. We just haven't had time to work on it. So rather than take it away and I don't know, generally degrade people's experience in the game, I think we leave it there and we're still reworking it. And for those, I agree that the follow up question there is okay. Well, what about the people that had a ton of existing premium on their accounts? We're going to get there. So there will be a new premium system, and for people that had it, like we want to make sure they get what they paid for. All right, it looks like Secrets is getting a beer.
Give me 1 second.
No problem. Let's see. Tuning. I'm just scanning some. Oh, you got that. You got the highlight. New hairstyles. Ooh.
Oh,
If you guys think cars are hard, hairstyles are even worse. If you just close your eyes for a second and imagine all the ways that hair interact with the game when you put on customizables and things like that. Just the morphs that go into hair, the way you can change it is incredibly hard. And so it takes a technical artist to be able to get into that system and design all the assets that work with that system. And so I think it's hair. I'd love to see some new hairstyles as well. That is not currently in the roadmap, just because I think the bang for the time, not bang for the buck, but bang for the time is not there right now. It's just you spend a ton of time trying to do something like that. I can't imagine actually the artist that did the Mirage work for Reloaded. I mean, that's a ton of effort and time put into that car that to never have it get released. So I'm happy to be able to release that and get that out to the players because it was a lot of effort. All right, last couple of questions. We'll cut this off in 3 to 5 minutes.
3 to 5 minutes. Okay.
I
got
think
a very important one.
325. 325.
325. Okay. Let's see. Frozy asks, any news about inventory expansions or bringing everyone up to the current max?
Yeah, I really, what I want to do there is redo a bit of the back end. It's very dated. It's sitting on old software, and I think I'd rather do what we're doing. We've sort of gone down the line, right? We did the client, reworked all that. We've done a ton of work now on matchmaking, which moved stuff to the world server. I think the next step is to also address just our aging database. Poor thing is sitting there getting worse and worse. Frankly, it's just filling up with a bunch of data that we could be handling better. So I think before we go and do that, we probably can. I don't want to say no. I think we can increase the slots, but we're just making a problem worse if we do that.
All right. That is actually a good answer. I would also agree on that.
Yep.
There's a question in here about let me find it.
I think it's about inventory, like new and existing players, like matchmaking people, the importance of like inventory, because like existing players have, all of these things they can use in a mission, right? That new players don't have. And it's Kyoki that said that. I agree. I think that's a bit of a problem. It can unbalance a match when you have a bunch of new players up against seasoned players, even if they're the same threat, right? It's being able to, pop open consumables can absolutely change the match there. So it's just something we need to think about and rebalance or figure out a way to handle that in the matchmaking.
All right, 2 more rapid fire. Here we go.
Yep.
First time user experience. Any improvements there?
Nothing yet. We've talked about this ad nauseum internally, and there's a I would say a lightweight plan. It's absolutely true that the current tutorial does not really teach you how to play the game. It teaches you how to lean and do some things, but the core of the game, getting missions, doing things, like it just doesn't step you through that. So I think it's the difference between a tutorial and a first time user experience, or a FATUI. It's a terrible acronym,
FATUI.
but FATUI teaches you how to play the game. The tutorial teaches you the controls. I think we need to teach people how to play the game.
Yeah, it's not great enough to actually know how to shoot a gun. It's to actually know how the gun handles individually, and that's just not really.
And the player
explained.
loop, like the player loop of how do I make a choice about picking one gun or another? How do I gain rank with like how do you play the game from the core compulsion loop as opposed to from a control standpoint?
Yep. Last one I have is going to
last
be.
one.
I just had it. Crap. Just joined. Will APB join Epic Games? As in, will they be launching on the Epic Game Store?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. We did a ton of work with with Epic Games actually in order to get the new version of Easy Anti-Cheat integrated. We had to do a formal integration with Epic Games, and so yeah, I mean, I think that is absolutely closer in on our roadmap because I think there's an entire player base. People who play on Epic that like Epic that would like to play our game using their Epic account. So yeah, that's definitely coming. That's a great question to close on.
All right, cool.
Awesome.
I guess that should pretty much wrap up the AMA. We're a little bit. How long are we on the time right now?
We went for an hour and a half. So
hour and a half.
About an hour and a half.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for coming to listen to us. Hopefully, you felt like this was worth it. The summary, the step one of matchmaking is on OTW now. We've got a couple more iterations, so we could really use your help testing. The car is coming. It has been assembled. As you can see there, we've got a little bit of testing to do with that. We'll probably put that on OTW here coming up pretty soon. We're going to make a pass through the new contacts, and we're going to put all that out for you guys so that you guys can get content and better matches. So hopefully that'll feel a lot better.
Again, this is the car ratting just before we go. And also wanted to say that we are still going to be interacting with the community on our Discord. Matt is alive. Also, wanted to also say that there are going to be continued playtests. Be sure to join the Little Orbit Discord. There will be matchmaking
get a link
playtests.
maybe for that.
Yep.
Is there a share link that we'll
Give
put
me one
that?
moment.
We'll put that up for people.
It's actually got a dedicated link. There you go. Did that actually go through?
There it is. There you go.
Nice. There we go.
Discord GG Little Orbit.
Yep. So
awesome.
see you there.
We'll do more of these. We'll try to step up the communication, even if it's just to say, hey, we're still working on things. I think people have made that clear that it's okay to have an update that just says we're still working versus what was 6 months, 7 months of just radio silence. So thanks, guys.
We're alive. So we'll see you around.
All right.
Have a great one, everyone. And
thanks.